research and consulting to provide end-to-end solutioning for our clients. We have solved in consumer internet 3,000 plus problems in the consumer internet space and focus primarily on emerging markets like India, Indonesia, China, and MENA. So from that, we have developed a deep understanding across the sectors and business verticals. And we have helped clients solve diverse set of challenges and created playbooks from that. These playbooks allow players to be agile and not reinvent the wheel. So with that, let's start the series. So this today the focus is on e-commerce and hyperlocal. In here we have in Middle East we have 4.5 years of experience, and we have IP across other verticals, other geographies like India and Southeast Asia, which we have leveraged for this. We have reached out to across these geographies more than 3,000 customers and done 100 plus ideas to get this. We have also spoken to a lot of SMEs and looked at best practices from other parts of the world for this presentation. So today there are 3 presenters. Myself, my name is Sandeep Ganediwala. I am the managing partner for Redseer in Middle East. Along with me is my colleague Anuj. Anuj is the engagement manager with us and has been with us for the last 3.5 years now. And Soumya, who is an associate consultant focused on Middle East. There are 3 topics that we'll cover in this. The first one is what has been the impact of COVID-19 on Middle East. Here we'll look at before COVID, how was this e-commerce sector expected to grow? What has been the impact of COVID-19 on the businesses, on the e-commerce businesses? And then how have brands responded to mitigate these challenges? Then we'll look at voice of customer to understand how have consumers behaved and which of the behaviors is expected to stick. Finally, we'll look at what are the new growth trajectories that we expect for the different verticals of online retail, and what are the key trends and playbooks that players can use. If we go on the next slide, I'll ask Anuj to take over from here.
Thank you, Sandeep, to all of you. We are trying to solve the 3 questions. One is what has been the general trajectory for the online retail and food tech in MENA. Second is what has been the impact of COVID-19 on these 2 sectors, and how the brands are responding to it. So first of all, trying to understand the retail sector in MENA. It is currently a $10 billion sector, and 2019 being a very good year for the sector, which was actually the tipping point of retail. We expected 2017 to be the tipping point, and then move to 2018, and then finally 2019 is the year when the sector showed a real good growth and expected to maintain the same. We could see that by 2023 it is almost expected to grow 3.5 times to reach 35 billion. The 2 key geographies, UAE and Saudi, almost represent 70%. There are many questions like why 2019 was a year when the sector did really well. Well, earlier in the years, Amazon took over Souq, and in parallel, Noon as well, with the support from Alabar Group, invested a lot in building the unit economics, investing in logistics, investing in improving the customer experience, and a healthy competition growing up, which led to this growth. It was not just these two players, but also the niche players like Play, which is currently representing around 30% of the e-tail in the sector, did really well. Especially the Chinese players like Shein or Club Factory, AliExpress did a really good job in fashion. A lot of players who were primarily present offline also invested a lot in online and taking the omni-channel journey. Uh, it's not just these players. I think the measure of the success could also be measured from the fact that the festive season was really great. Within those 10 days of sales, the sector uh, managed to do a 5% of their annual sales in those 10 days. So 2019 being a tipping point year, and we expect the same growth to come in future years. Uh, the reason being the customer behavior is changing. Customers are looking forward to online channels for the sale for their purchases, and being very comfortable buying categories like home and grocery, where the experience is matters a lot, shows that the customers are matured and happy to buy online. Even players are building the capability. We already discussed Noon and Amazon investing in the basics, and the others are also doing it. And the third reason, uh, all this is coming with a good support from a funding support uh, in recent past, Nana Direct or Avok uh, uh, generating the equity are just examples. So this is about the structure of e-tail in MENA. When we look at the food tech, I think food tech journey is not very different from e-tail. Currently, when we look at the two key countries, UAE and Saudi, they represent around 2.2 billion of market, equally split between the two countries. And again, a 30% growth leading to a 3 times size of the business. Almost a 25% growth rate for for UAE, and 30%, 40% for Saudi. When we look at what are the reasons for the online food delivery to do this great, are almost similar, like the changing customer behavior, where customers are comfortable ordering online. Even they have replaced the meals which they order, they used to get in office by online delivery. They are saying that the food options online are much better than what they have in their office canteens. And also in terms of price point, a much better price point is offered. So customers are happy ordering online. Even restaurants have a similar story, saying that almost 20 to 40% of their sales are coming through online channels, and they are working really hard to get a bigger pie of this share. Some of the restaurants we interacted in UAE had a feedback that they are almost generating 75 to 80% of their sales through online channels. So we can understand that it is a great media of sale for restaurants. Even internet kitchens have focused a lot in the geography. Rebel Foods from India entered Middle East last year. Even Kitopi has been doing great. Recently generated a $60 million funding, and a good expansion plans. They already have plans in Saudi, in Europe and Southeast Asia. So all this ties up to a good growth uh, expectation from the food tech sector in coming years. Well, the story till date was this. However, COVID-19 happened, and MENA has taken journey which is not very different from other countries. Maybe a little delayed, or maybe uh, similar to what India has been taking. Till it can be divided into three phases. The first phase being uh, uh, till the second week of March, when there were news coming from China, a situation in Europe was getting bad. But however, there was little or no impact, except the Umrah visas getting cancelled, because that involves a lot of traffic from foreign countries to the region. Then the second phase came when the impact was partial. Slowly, the government started implementing lockdowns, starting from travel, then schools locking, schools getting closed, malls getting closed, public places getting closed, and then the third phase when the last week of March or first week of April, when the country was locked down, these sanitization initiatives were taken. We can see the impact from the graph below as well, where we can see that the traffic at public places has almost dropped uh, to negative 80%, almost empty roads uh, in the region. Well, these lockdowns had uh, a big impact on the e-tailing sector, or e-commerce rather, I should say. Some sectors have shown a positive impact, and some real negative. This slide talks about how has been the impact on different sectors. We all know a lot of news coming from grocery players trying to manage the deliveries, and that's the sector which has seen the biggest spike. You'll see in the latest slides that how big is the spike in terms of orders, in terms of the exact impact, in terms of value. People are buying, people are panic buying, and uh, this being an essential sector, uh, people are buying it online. E-pharma, which has been not a big sector in the region, has also seen a good growth. Uh, Players like Life Pharmacy or Aster 800 Pharmacy doing well, partnering with delivery players to make the deliveries online. Even the government has come up in the region, where Ministry of Health is partnering with the e-tailing players and the delivery players to share uh, the uh, the insurance data and let the deliveries happen. Uh, in terms of e-tailing sectors, beauty and personal care has been is again a sector which has done well. If we break beauty and personal care into smaller sectors, it's the personal care which is driving the sector. Uh, uh, it's the personal care which is driving the sector. Uh, uh, People have increased realization of hygiene, buying serums or buying personal care products, which is driving it. The beauty has not been doing so well, but we expect the sector to pick up by Eid week. Uh, Home has been the another sector doing well. Work from home, gymming from home, increased spending time with kids, requiring toys, even increased cooking at home requiring new equipments in kitchen, has all pushed up the home online sales. Another trend which we have seen in home is that online consultation, where people are taking support from consultants to understand which furniture and which decor would go well in their house, and we expect this to continue in future as well. Electronics is another category which is little green. The reason being the work from home, study from home, and people requiring those electronic equipments to connect with the outside world. Here we expect that people would be preponing their Ramadan purchases, and the bump is a early bump in this category. The other set of categories have actually not done so well. Starting with fashion, fashion has a great influence from cross-border trade, uh, which are Chinese players and could not do well in this current situation. Also, lack of occasions, people are not going out, so the fashion is uh, could not is a shade red. Fintech is another one. Even though people are are not doing the cash transactions and looking for online solutions, online payment solutions, but the overall volume impact is negative. The primary reason being the travel and mobility, which are the two sectors where most of the online transactions happen, are not doing so great. So overall volume has reduced. However, there is one interesting trend uh, in remittances, where people earlier used to go to the exchange house and do the remittance transfer, but now they are looking at online solution, and this is a trend which we expect to continue. Food tech is again negative, special main reason being increased cooking at home, and also the supply getting squeezed, uh, which is leading to the sector going down. Mobility, we all know, is negative because of the shared services and people trying to not uh, take uh, take the services. Also, going out is down, and that's the reason mobility is down. And L&D and travel, we all understand. It's the government has asked these services to completely shut, and this is a struggling category. When we connected, when we connected with the investors, I think one of the comment which was coming quite interesting and makes a lot of sense is that there have been three waves of uh, of in e-tailing sector. The first wave was the panic buying by the customers. The second wave being when the regulations came into picture and the customers realized that online is the only channel where they could buy. But the third wave is something which will drive the future of the e-tail, is the stickiness of these customers to online channels. Uh, Moving on. Uh, so moving on, we spoke about that e-tail has seen a good jump in this current scenario. And when we combine all these categories together, what we saw was that overall there was a 20% jump in the daily order value, daily order volume. When we look at the structure pre-lockdown, uh, talking about February 2020, the two countries, UAE and KSA, were doing around 320,000 orders per day. However, the structure was very different. Around 55% of the orders are fulfilled by the local players and 45 by the cross-border. However, the situation completely changed in next 1 month when the order volume increased by 20% to 380,000 orders per day. But it was all the local players kicking in and and almost taking a 90% share of this order volume. If we try to break up this by different categories, the grocery is the category which has performed phenomenally well. E-grocery, where the spike is almost 300%. The reasons for the same we discussed in the previous slide. The second one being home, where increased spending time at home, cooking at home, gymming at home, the reasons for the category to do well. Beauty and personal care, again, 100% jump in terms of number of orders per day because of the increased realization of hygiene. Electronics as a category, in terms of order volume, saw a drop. The major reason being the cross-border trade was a good channel for people to order online. However, so this took a hit, and the electronics went down. And the fashion story is not very different, where the cross-border trade reduced the supply, and which is coupled with the lack of occasions where sectors saw a drop. So this is how the structure looks, e-tail structure looks by volume. When we look at what has been the value impact in terms of value, when we try to understand the annualized GMV, uh, which is early February or February 2020, the two countries were doing an annualized GMV of around 7.5 billion, but it saw a 40% spike by March end to do a GMV of 11 billion. And the structure within the category structure within this also changed a lot. Electronics almost doing 50% earlier dropped to around 35%. However, the impact of cross-border trade, the average order value of electronics through cross-border trade was not that great, and overall there is a 10% positive impact. Uh, Beauty, another big category, which was almost 43% earlier, dropped to almost 30%. Uh, Sorry, fashion and beauty I'm talking about, from falling from 43 to 29, which is a 10% drop uh, in terms of value. And the reasons are same, that the only category, subcategory doing good within this is the personal care. However, beauty and fashion, clothing and footwear saw a drop, leading to overall category drop by 10%. The most interesting category is grocery, uh, increasing its share from 6% to 27%, a 4 times growth. Uh, Reason being, oh sorry, it's a 500% growth. The major reason being the orders. It's not just the orders which saw a 300% spike, but also the average order value also saw a 2 to 3 times growth in terms of value. People do not want to order more frequently, so they are ordering a lot of things in one go, ultimately resulting in this 500% spike. Uh, Home is another interesting category which saw a 250% jump. Uh, uh, when we look by order volume, 100% growth, but it was also the average order value. People are buying furniture and decor items or gymming equipments, where the average sales price of the product is higher, and that's the reason the category saw has a much bigger share uh, 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 in 2020 post lockdown scenario. Well, that was ETAIL, and ETAIL was saw a positive impact overall due to COVID-19. However, uh, online food delivery has not been that fortunate. Uh, we saw that almost UE and KSA almost had 1 billion plus uh, online food delivery market. However, UE has saw a 20% drop and Saudi a 40%. Uh, the reason are pretty much common in both the countries. However, in this slide, we have presented the reasons which are very specific to those countries. The first reason being the supply is squeezed. So when we look at UAE, there are around 16,000 restaurants who deliver food online. However, post lockdown, the 16,000 is dropped to 3,000, almost to 18%. So there is not enough supply to uh, uh, push the sales. And the story in Saudi is not very different. Even the restaurants who are operating, they are facing a lot of difficulties. Uh, they have to sanitize their kitchens twice a day. Uh, they have to do the temperature testing. The packaging has to be double. Even the cooks cannot directly meet the delivery boys, and it has to be contactless. So ultimately, the operations are getting slow. In Saudi, the situations are much tougher. How? Because the government has asked only the Saudi nationals to deliver the food packets, and there have been some days when the government said that the food delivery won't happen this day. So there is a higher frustration among the food delivery captains in the region. Even the online, even the customers can make only the online payment uh, for their packets, the food delivery packets. Uh, when we look at the overall demographics of Saudi, we understand that unlike UAE, either there are really rich people or there are poor people. rich are still able to manage increased cooking at home. It's the poor who do not have the proper kitchens or proper kitchen equipments, and those who could manage the food delivery online still do not have uh, a good understanding of how to make the payments online, and that's the reason the impact in Saudi can be seen much bigger compared to UAE. So moving on, uh, these have been the constraints, and this is how the sectors have behaved in the region. Now we are trying to understand how brands have reacted, and when we look at the challenges faced by them, the retailers, these brands have a biggest problem of supply. The two countries, UAE and Saudi, are heavily dependent on imports from other countries uh, to fuel the retail growth, and that has impacted. When we look at the international uh, supply from Far East, Southeast Asia, be it Malaysia and Vietnam, is impacted, and they're looking for solutions from India, Pakistan, Egypt, uh, so that the engine keeps running. Even the local retailers are facing issues, even though the products are there in their warehouses, but they do not have the digital medias to bring this inventory online. They are looking for some intermittent solutions. However, still a lot of inventory is offline, and they are not able to make this sale, ultimately leading to a crunch, a supply demand gap. The another the big issue is the last mile delivery is also a challenge. We conducted an analysis on what has been the spikes and what has been the supply of delivery boys, and in the current scenario, the region, the two countries are almost 4,000 plus short of delivery boys. Though this supply is coming from the online, the food tech players and the mobility players, but the e-tail sector is 4,000 delivery boys short at present. And these delivery boys also have certain dissatisfactions. They themselves are worried because increased contact would lead to a higher exposure. The trips are longer. Earlier, the trip radius was 5 to 7 kilometers. However, it has been increased to 45 minutes. Almost the entire city a delivery boy can cover, and so they have to do travel a longer distance. Also, the brands are taking care of providing the fuel, the mask and gloves and sanitizers. However, we interacted with the delivery boys, and they are saying that they have to make investment from their own pocket because uh, the volume is not sufficient, and they have to buy on their own. When we look at the overall impact, we you could see in the chart lower down that the prices have spiked within a month, within the 2 weeks time, from first week to third week of the April. Fresh grocery 20%, reason being the supply is constrained. The freight charges have increased, ultimately leading to spike in the prices. Retailers, even though they are not making money because of the spike, but the customers have to pay from their own pockets. Smartphones, the similar story. Uh, However, this spike is more seen in the premium phones than premium phones like Apple and Samsung. However, the economical ones have not seen that spike. The laptops and tablet category is also the same story, and the gaming products are seeing a 10% spike. So if we try to understand gaming products, the PS4 and Xbox have the prices have spiked by almost 100 dirhams in last 2 weeks, a 10% spike, which is a 10% spike on its base. When we try to look at what solutions have they come up with, uh, uh, the malls have come online. You have already seen that Dubai Mall is online. Even Majid Al Futtaim has, through Carrefour, has brought its entire inventory online and reaching out to the customers. Even retailers have started looking at the digital solutions, like some of the retailers are taking orders on WhatsApp and delivering it, helping them reach the sales. even the cross-sector partnerships have happened. We all know, we would have read about the RTA coming into picture uh, uh, to help out with the deliveries. Moving on, the story at e-grocery has not been very different. Uh, Even though the sector is enjoying a spike, but there is a big challenge in terms of fulfilling these orders. When we try to classify it into different segments, there are four types: pure play, who are focusing more into uh, giving the customer experience, fast delivery. However, they do not have a good view on the inventory because they are dependent on the offline stores to for the sourcing. Excuse me. The offline of the omni-channel players are the other types like Carrefour, Choitram, Lulu, the new, who have a good experience in grocery. However, uh, uh, when compared to pure play, the customer experience is not so great. Maybe they could do the same day delivery, but not a 1 hour delivery. Uh, uh, the third type is horizontals like Noon and Souk, uh, who are operating grocery as any e-tailing category, majorly operating into the packaged and non-edible grocery. However, the experience in fresh is not enough. And the fourth are the hyperlocal players, majorly represented by the food tech players who have come online and added grocery as a segment to support on the deliveries. So we spoke about some of the challenges these sectors have faced. However, the biggest common challenge across all the four is how to manage uh, the deliveries, the spike in the deliveries. And they have come up with solutions. We all know that the partnerships have happened. Even within the organization, a lot of employee employee transfer has happened. If we try to understand, if we look at Majid Al Futtaim, they have a lot of businesses running, and after COVID-19, they have transferred a lot of people from L&E to Carrefour to help out with managing the grocery operations. And the story in Souk and at Noon is not very different, where people are moved to logistics. Uh, the charity has been another area which the players have focused. The people losing job or the salary cuts have uh, have created a distress among the people, and they want to ensure that through this charity the unfortunate ones don't go hungry, and that's the reason the charity is added. uh, One of the common problem for all these players is that if any of the employee goes COVID positive, uh, what they will do, and they have come up with emergency warehousing, where if someone becomes positive, and even if they have to stop the operations at one location, they have a parallel warehouses from where the sourcing could happen, and it does not get impacted. Moving on, so we spoke about the hyper-local players in the previous slide, and they are able to support because they have the spare capacity of delivery boys who could help out with the deliveries. We also spoke about the challenges in the previous slide. However, one point which I would like to mention here is that uh, uh, one of the supply constraint is the restaurants getting off the grid. And this problem is seen more in the case of independent restaurants than compared to chain restaurants, because chain restaurants still can have those volumes to which they can manage. So just to give an example, like a restaurant, a chain restaurant with 4 branches in a city could still manage to close its 3 restaurants and operate with 1 restaurant to look out for deliveries for the entire city. However, uh, that's not the case with independent restaurants, and they have come up with uh, what if we try to look at what the food tech players have done in last 1 month, is that they have they have expanded their category. They are now delivering grocery. Another thing is example of Lunch On, where they used to provide uh, meal options to its employees for 25 dirhams at workplace are now delivering to their home. They've also come up with dark stores where they could store the grocery and deliver it and to the customers, and not always depending on the offline retailers uh, to make the delivery. So yes, this talks about the entire journey of how COVID-19 has impacted the tech sectors in the MENA and how brands are responding. If we try to summarize it, uh, I think one clear message which comes up is that retail has grown really well from almost 40%. However, the question remains is that would the customers stick to this behavior where they would continue to buy online, uh, or what would be the trend? So I would request Soumya to take it over from here, where we have interacted with customers in the region to try to answer this question. Over to you, Soumya.
Thanks, Anuj. So just on a side note, we will be taking all the questions at the end of the session. We started to look at the voice of the customer. We wanted to understand on a more granular level, why is it that customers are making the decisions that they are? How is it that their buying behavior has changed due to COVID-19? Whether these behaviors will stick, and what does the future look like? Moving on. The first thing that came out very starkly was the shift towards online. Here, the green bubbles represent essential products and the orange represent discretionary. On the left, the UAE side, we see that there has been, in general, a shift towards online, but there is still some mixed behavior on the grocery side, which comes under essentials. In Saudi, we see very drastically, everyone has a very negative sentiment towards the offline channels, as well as the quantum of shift towards online in Saudi for essentials is much higher as compared to UAE. In our conversations with customers, we did find that they said that they are now more aware of sites, so they will continue to purchase there. Moving on. This shift towards online has been propelled by a lot of first-time users. While there has been a section who have increased their usage of online platforms, a large quantum comes from first-time users, such as on the left when you see in Saudi, 30% of consumers used a grocery platform for the first time to order. The same is 20% for UAE. This behavior varies across income levels, however. In UAE, we see that there is more adoption for the key sectors of grocery, electronics, and clothing from high-income users. Versus in Saudi, we see a more mixed reaction with grocery and clothing having low-income users, and electronics, the first-time users are mostly high-income users. Moving on. We try to understand what the customer is planning for the future, what their future outlook is of the current scenario. We saw a very varying image. In UAE, about 20% of consumers felt that the pandemic will end in a little more than 4 months, versus in Saudi, that number was a whopping 44%, which showed a much higher level of pessimism for the future. There was also a very negative perception of the financial impact, where in Saudi we see that more than 80% of consumers had some sort of negative or significantly negative perceived impact on their finances, which are of course going to affect their purchase decisions. Essential products are going to be prioritized over discretionary. In fact, one of the consumers that we spoke with actually said that an optimistic scenario is 3 to 4 months. Moving on. The next question that arises is, do these new behaviors seem, are they going to stick? we looked at how many consumers are willing to increase or continue this current pattern of buying online. In UA, that number is much higher, as seen on the left. For grocery especially, on an average, about 30 to 40% of consumers said that they are willing to continue or increase their online purchases, which gives us the impression that they are now used to this new way of buying and understand the benefits of it. However, in Saudi, this number is less than 20%, which tells us they're probably using online platforms as a stopgap till the situation normalizes. There is good news on the electronics and clothing categories, however, which will bounce back with more than 40 to 60% of users willing to increase or continue their online purchases after the lockdown is over. One thing we'd like to highlight here is that this amount of stickiness is higher in higher income cohorts compared to lower income. Moving on. We then stepped back and looked at what is it that a consumer finds important when trying to pick an online platform. We saw that in UA, the attributes that are important for a customer are usually things more on the product or the operations side, things like delivery speed, product variety, value for money. Versus in Saudi, a theme emerged of trust. Consumers valued the brand name of the platform above a lot of other factors. Consumers went as far as to say that there is a skepticism of whether orders are going to be fulfilled, which is why there are certain platforms that are considered more trustworthy that they would prefer to only purchase from, as well as they would prefer cash on delivery only because they need to have the order in front of them till they pay for it, because the refund process is long and they don't want to get into that. Hence, trust came out as a much larger factor here. One more thing I'd like to highlight is that consumers are factoring in their increased awareness about COVID while picking their online platforms to purchase from. Contactless delivery has consistently emerged as an important factor for consumers these days. Moving on. However, everything that I've spoken of so far was on the more medium or long-term perspective. Let's look at what's already happened. Ramadan shopping seems to have been affected in different ways in both the regions. In UAE, so we did a similar study a couple of months ago, pre-lockdown, and now we've contrasted our findings with the study we've done now. And we find that in UAE, consumers have revised their expectations upwards about how much shopping they're going to do. In electronics, it's probably because of the requirement for work from home and the requirement for home offices and online education at home, which is coinciding with the pre-Ramadan period of shopping, where they are now willing to buy more in electronics. Clothing is remaining about the same, and beauty and personal care is up slightly, as explained by Anuj before, boosted by personal care. In Saudi, however, we can link the decline in the excitement for these categories to the perceived negative financial impact. People are revising down how much they think they will be purchasing during Ramadan. This is especially true in terms of clothing, as well as beauty and personal care, which come across as more discretionary products as compared to the essentials. Moving on. To summarize, we see these 6 themes emerging. There is a shift towards online, more in Saudi than UAE, more first-time users in Saudi, a more bleak outlook in Saudi for the future scenario, more stickiness of behavior in UAE. Attributes that are important are product and operations in UAE versus trust in Saudi. And the excitement for Ramadan shopping is up in UAE, while slightly down in Saudi. We now would like to look at how e-tail is going to unfold in the coming year and so on. And for that, I'd like Sandeep to take over. Thank you.
Thanks, Soumya. So I think we have already looked at how COVID has impacted positively e-tailing in the region. We have also looked at how consumers are expected to behave post-COVID and which sectors will see more stickiness versus which will not. And how in the short term, the impact would be on Ramadan. What we tried to do now was we already have our base curves on what the sector would have evolved. We have projected these inputs and done a forecast on the new post-COVID forecasts for all these sectors. That's the first thing we'll talk of. The second thing we'll talk about is what are the key trends that are shaping the sector. And third is what are the different playbooks that brands can use to benefit from these trends. Moving on. So the first thing what we are looking at, the dotted line here is the base curve. If COVID had not happened, how would the evolution of the e-tailing sector be? As you can see, there are two bumps in this. The first one is in around the April-May period, which is Eid period. And the second bump is around November period, which is the festive season. And White Friday, National Day sales, all have been combined, and November has emerged as a critical period of sale for e-tailing. So on a base case, we were expecting 35% growth for the sector. Now the orange curve is what the new scenario we are projecting. You see the biggest bump in e-tailing was during where we are currently, which is the spike because of lockdown, and Anuj has covered it before already. We expect that spike to slowly to continue during Ramadan. Some sectors would be negatively impacted, but some sectors will still be above the expected behavior. So we expect Ramadan to be at the same level, slightly lower, but at the same levels as the e-tail spike that we saw in April. Post Eid and post the lockdown has slowly already started to be released partially. There are already partial releases in lockdown. We expect that post Eid and post the lockdown, there will still be some stickiness, and we expect that around 12%, 11% of the demand will still stick. So an overall increase of 11% compared to the base scenario that we had. This represents a 45% increase compared to where we were last year. So overall, we expect a 45% increase compared to 2019 now on e-tailing. We go to the next one. So we validated this also from our supply and demand discussions, and we have already covered some of it. I'll give you a flavor here. So electronics, the key drivers were sales of mobile because of virtual classes, home cooking, etc. coming in. Virtual education coming in. Customers were more willing to buy products online, and the increased adoption that we are seeing in grocery sector will also have a rub-on effect on fashion, where we heard that customers had spent time looking at the catalogs but maybe not buying at this stage. We expect that they would at some stage start buying more online. On grocery, people now understand that products come on time, how convenient it is to buy grocery, and we expect that more and more people, now that they understand online grocery, will continue to buy grocery online. Moving on. So if we now go to sector by sector, the first sector we looked at was electronics. For electronics, the work from home, gaming and virtual classes, these were the three key drivers that led to the increase during the lockdown period. There were some discretionary items such as phones, which did not see that big an increase. So overall, there was around a 10% increase during the lockdown period. We expect some of that to continue during Eid, but slowly the 8% increase will reduce, and we expect a 4% increase compared to our base scenarios. So the sector will end at a GMV of around 4.8 billion by December. Moving to the next one. If we look at fashion, fashion had a very different outlook and evolution during the COVID compared to all others. Fashion, because of the supply side issues and CBT being a big driver for fashion, where there were significant supply challenges during the lockdown period, saw almost a massive decline in cross border. Also, because this was considered to be more discretionary, and the uncertainty that COVID brought in, people reduced their discretionary spend. Finally, because of the lockdown, there were limited social occasions for people to buy. So because of that, the sector declined from 2.6 billion annual GMV to 2 billion right now. However, from our discussions and from what we have heard from the customers, we believe that majority of this will be recovered by the Eid period, unless the lockdown becomes even more intense and things go more south from here. We don't expect fashion to be where it is. Already we see cross border has increased, and it's relatively more normal compared to where it was 4 weeks ago. And manufacturing is China is also back to relatively more normal. We do expect that because customers have spent time understanding products online, there would be some stickiness on fashion that will continue. And we expect from our base scenario, a 5.5% increase in online fashion. However, overall, on an annualized basis, the big trough that the lockdown saw would mean that the delta would not be very high. So on an overall basis, it would be very similar to what we were projecting earlier. Moving on. So now the last sector we wanted to cover in this was grocery. Grocery is one of the essential commodities, and with restaurants closing and people spending more time at home, there was a significant increase in buying. The increase was anywhere between 300% to 500%. And one of the reasons for that was panic buying at the start, where people are not sure whether even the grocery stores will open for a period of time or not. However, we do expect that to stabilize, and we don't expect this high volumes that we are seeing right now to continue. Once things come back to normal, we expect in UAE 100% increase. So still, this grocery would be the biggest beneficiary of this lockdown. E-grocery would see, we were projecting e-grocery to be around $500 million on annualized GMV, while now we expect it to be around $1.1 billion. So 100% increase in UAE. In Saudi Arabia, as we explained earlier, the stickiness on grocery was one of the lowest. While the increase during the lockdown was higher for Saudi than in UAE, the stickiness is lower, and we expect a 15% of that demand to stick. So overall, we expect that the delta compared to what we were expecting earlier on e-grocery is 55% above our base case. Moving on. So in summary, what that means is 2019 UAE plus KSA did a annualized GMV of $7.2 billion. We were projecting our base case that the sector will become 9.5 billion, which is a 35% increase. However, now we expect that increase to be 10% more at 10.5 billion. So because of what happened and how customers behave and how they would be more sticky, we expect an additional $1 billion opportunity unlocked in just UAE and Saudi Arabia in e-tailing for this year. If you look at, however, there are challenges. So if you look at macro challenges, the key challenges that we have heard is, what if there are significant job losses and there are significant the disposable income for people is reduced. The second concern, more so in UAE, is population decline. If significant people lose their jobs, there would be even a 5 to 7% population decline in UAE will result in massive change in the outlook for the sector. The operational challenges which we spoke earlier were local inventory, availability of local inventory. So while online platforms are seeing stockouts on many of the categories, the local inventory which is still available with offline retailers and sometimes even large offline retailers is not fully available online. So how to get that inventory online would be one of the challenges that the sector will have to solve for. Second would be that the supply disruptions have been there, but they have not been very, very massive. Any global supply disruptions would mean that the intercontinental transfer, which is very significant for a market like Middle East, which imports a lot of products, would lead to a significant negative outlook on this. While on the positive side, if these challenges are sorted, the price of the pie is much higher now. We also spoke about driver shortages. So we do expect that this increased opportunity would lead to significantly high number of orders to be delivered, and there would be a short-term driver shortage. More so, given that the policy has been changed in Saudi Arabia, where only nationals can drive now, can deliver for food tech at least, means that there would be a short-term shortage for drivers. Finally, customers have been very understanding and they've accepted the long delivery times, the stockouts which they are witnessing, and they understand that this is a one-off situation. However, with the increased demand and once things come back to normal, online retailers will have to improve their customer experience if they want to tap into the demand that exists. So the current poor customer experience is not something that customers will be willing to accept post-lockdown. And we already spoke about stockouts. Any change in any change in supply chain could result in stockouts, and that's something that customers will not like. Moving on. So now, what are the 5 big trends that we expect for 2020, the short-term trends for 2020? The first one is, given that the market is expected to grow so much and given the adoption that we are seeing with customers, we expect a lot of offline players to go digital. Not that they were not already digital, but they will accelerate their plans. We see not all offline players are fully digital. They are many of them are suboptimal. So we expect that acceleration would be very high in 2020. We expect partnerships to lead the way there. We are already seeing a lot of partnerships, and we expect to see more of these partnerships this year. The second one is hyperlocal to continue in its scope expansion. We have already seen how Talabat has expanded into pharmacy, into grocery, how Lunchon has expanded into grocery. Careem now recently launched their grocery offerings. So category expansion for hyperlocals is one thing that we expect to continue to see this year. And that would mean that they will have to develop new capabilities. They would have to understand how to integrate inventory, how to manage a higher number of SKUs, or how to manage demand, which is very different than the demand that they're used to cater to. The next one we expect is the biggest beneficiary of the lockdown has been grocery sector. We expect grocery to attract a lot of offline entrants. Right now, we see while a lot of large players are already online, many of the large players have not gone online yet fully. And we expect that they would now look at this sector a lot more closely and build capabilities or acquire capabilities to, to jumpstart their online business. Then we already spoke about delivery boys, and we expect that logistics and hyperlocal delivery would be a critical enabler for people to go digital. We have heard from many retailers where they've said that they consider this to be a strategic advantage, and they will continue to invest in this capability. Finally, given that customers are engaging very differently on the online platforms, we expect very different ways, new ways of customer engagement models to emerge in Middle East also. We are already seeing some of this in China. Moving on. So if you look at the offline players going digital, we already saw that in UAE, there were 21% people who were first-time buyers, while in Saudi it was 31%, and the stickiness was also relatively high at 40% and 20%. So there is an accelerated adoption of online. The second driver for offline players to go online is the higher trust. We spoke about how trust is an important factor, especially in Saudi Arabia, which is a large market, and offline players already have the trust of consumers. They already know and have a relationship with these players on an alternate channel. So we expect that these brands will look to capitalize on this and go online. Finally, having their own online store will also give them higher control on the customer experience. They can build direct relationships, they can understand consumer behavior better, they can do targeted promotions, have more control over prices, and they can also provide an omni-channel experience to the consumer. So we believe that there would be acceleration. The players who would want to go would either look at mono brands, so a mono brand playbook where they will have to look at sourcing, logistics, technology, marketing, and operations, and look at developing playbooks for each one of them. Similarly, the alternate would be partnering with a marketplace, which we have already seen a lot of examples, and we'll talk about them on the following slides, or launching their own multi-brand. There are a lot of conglomerates here, and they could decide to do a multi-brand website also. So in general, we believe that this to be the strongest trend for this year. Moving forward. So some examples of what we have seen. Choitram has already tied up with Noon and InstaShop. Union Corp has tied with El Grocer. Majid Al Futtaim has used Carrefour app to launch their mall offerings online. Al Shaya has partnered with Noon for distributing online. Similarly, Extra in Saudi has done the same with Noon. Shaloop has partnered with Farfetch to take their products online. If you move further, Union Corp, on the logistics side, we see that Union Corp has partnered with RTA. Emirates Post has also entered the fray, and they are also supporting wherever deliveries are required. On the food delivery side, we also see, given the perceived high commissions that players like Talabat, Zomato, food delivery operators charge, and restaurants feeling the pinch, some restaurant platforms have come together and launched a new product where Facebook Messenger can be used for ordering, and they charge a subscription fee rather than a transaction fee. There would be alternate modes of partnerships also, like gaming platforms, OTT platforms, and news platforms, or charitable organizations And all this will lead to greater engagement. And once you engage the customer, we believe that it would lead to higher sales also. Moving to the next one. So the next thing we believe is hyperlocals will continue their scope expansion. So we have already seen that they have built the relationship with the customer, and now they will be looking to utilize their capabilities better. And we have already seen Careem doing this, where they have already got into alternate modes of transport, food delivery, and now more recently grocery. In China, one of the leading players in this space is Meituan Dianping, who not only does food delivery, but they also do cinema booking, travel booking, hotel booking, and taxi booking. So they have really emerged into a super app. The critical playbooks that we believe that players will have to solve for, would have to have here. A is micro market strategy, where they have to identify cluster by cluster which are the clusters, prioritize the clusters, then prioritize the verticals or sectors that they want to focus in these micro clusters. Customer care about, and how do they compare on that compared to others. And finally, on the need gap. And finally, understand the need gap. The next one that we believe is sourcing. And sourcing would be very critical for especially hyperlocal players. Hyperlocal players will have to understand supply chain. So one of the things that they're very good at is delivery, but sourcing till now was more on the food side, while grocery delivery is very different. The number of SKUs are very high, and stockouts is a big concern. So figuring it out, doing strategic integration with their suppliers would be critical for them, and understanding when to launch, which locations to launch dark stores in would become critical for them. Finally, we believe the last one would be operations playbook, where they will have to map their drivers, look at alternate delivery models like pickup locations. I remember in one of the discussions with consumers, a differentiator of choice for the consumers was availability of pickup location close to their homes. So it's a lot more convenient for them to pick it up rather than waiting for them to come. And finally, ensuring that drivers are satisfied and tracking them in a structured manner would become critical. Moving on. So e-grocery, we have already seen in e-grocery how it is expected to grow exponentially in this year. And we have already seen a lot of new players. However, we still see many players having suboptimal presence. And we think that either they will start establishing partnerships, or they would go online on their own. The critical playbooks that we expect here are the micro market. Cluster strategy will become important for them also. Customer satisfaction, which we spoke about earlier, and the operations playbook. All three playbooks here will also be important for them. Moving to the next one. Delivery boys, we see that delivery boys, while the orders have increased and policy changes in some markets, we see a shortage of delivery boys, leading to much higher lead times and much higher delivery times. Timely delivery, what we have seen, is critical for customer satisfaction. And while customers are more understanding at this point of time, they would not be once things move further. So we do expect that delivery boys will be critical, and driver satisfaction and alternate delivery models, planning for that would become very critical. Moving to the next one. Finally, we are seeing new engagement models, And we expect that new engagement models will emerge in this part of the world also. For example, in China, we saw live streaming became increasingly popular as people were bored at home. And uh, some of them have started monetizing it very well. We expect either this or something similar, newer modes of uh, engagement to emerge in Middle East also. So this was it from our side. We are happy to take your questions now. So can you share the top players in e-grocery and e-pharma space basis the share of business? What we can tell is in grocery, the big players like Carrefour and Lulu have already started increasing their presence along with Bing Daoud. These are the players from an omni-channel perspective that are doing very well, that are doing relatively well. Then there are pure play online players like Nana Direct, El Grocer, InstaShop, who have emerged as who are doing relatively well. There is a question on no impact of dropping oil on sentiment and consumption. So it takes some time for the oil impact to come on the consumption. And right now what we are looking at not overall consumption here, but we are talking of online consumption because of the adoption that we are seeing of consumers from offline to online. We expect online to become to benefit from this. Hey, Anuj, Soumya, if there is anything that you want to take up, please go ahead.
Sure, Sandeep. I think there is one very good question coming on why the e-tail journey uh, for Mina has been very different from India. We know we presented India story where the e-tail in India has almost dropped 85%, but why it's a completely different scenario in Middle East where we see a 40% spike. Well, the major reason being the policy. In India, the government has categorized deliveries into essentials and non-essentials, where in essentials there is grocery and pharmacy. However, everything else comes under non-essential. And to cater to the spike in the demand, the government has allowed only the essential deliveries in India. However, in Middle East, this is not the case, even though they are categorizing into essentials and non-essentials. However, every delivery is essential, and every player is that's why focusing on online online sales, and that's the reason the market has spiked 40% in Middle East.
There's one question on would you categorize products like shampoo and hair oil as essentials or beauty? We would categorize those as essentials under personal care.
There is a question asked on, do you have any indication of which players could emerge as winners? Instead of commenting on which players would emerge, the players that focus not just on growth, but also on customer experience, which came out multiple times during our discussions, they are the ones that would emerge as winners, we think. Also, funding is critical for this sector. And what we have heard from investors is that companies who are going only after growth and not on profitability would find it difficult. So profitable growth with customer focus, customer experience are the ones that would win. Then there is a question on reasons for grocery retailing historically low in KSA. There is a difference between UAE and KSA. UAE has a significant number of expat population who have already seen some of these trends in their markets. So that has a rub-on effect, and the UAE typically adopts earlier online segments than Saudi Arabia. Also, the aversion for the supply landscape also has been a lot more better in UAE compared to Saudi Arabia. The large players have already, majority of the large players are already online with large number of different business models, pure play players in UAE, which is not the case in Saudi Arabia at this point of time. So since there is a demand for drivers, will Indian diaspora not increase in UAE? We do think that there would be an impact. I don't want to comment on from where they will come, but we do expect that there would be an increase in drivers required for the industry. And in UAE, where there are no policy restrictions, we will see an influx of that. So I think one question that is asked is, are there any gaps indicated from your customer interactions? From our customer interactions, what we have understood is in Saudi Arabia, people still, anything which is more than of significant value around the 100, 150 Saudi riyals, they prefer cash, where they feel that the players, they still do, there is a lack of trust, and hence cash on delivery is very high in Saudi Arabia. Any reduction in cash on delivery will have a significant positive impact on the P&L. The other thing that we have heard about is on grocery and food tech, they felt that the delivery times were very, very high, and initially food tech platforms were accepting orders without having delivery personnel. So there were significant cancellations because of that. Anything else, Soumya, Anuj, you want to highlight? Okay. So if there are no questions, then thanks again for joining, and we look forward for the next series.